Well, good evening. Thank you for joining Let's Talk. Well, in the month of November, we have entered into a month that's symbolic to remind us about all of the battles we've faced in the last, 9, 10 months. We're in the month of Thanksgiving. It's just a good month. November is not a month to cover the eyes or deny anything, but it's really an action month. It's an awakening month. It's time to begin preparation for the winter months. A time to abandon old habits and paradigms, no longer to embrace things that are not working. This month, we're starting a new series, and we're going to be talking to men. And because I've worked in a field where I work with men all the time, I have sons in the ministry, my husband in ministry, brothers, so many people in ministry that are good men. They are good men. So many times you hear people speak about men in a negative connotation, but I know that there are good men in ministry, good men in the church, and sometimes they just need to be made whole. And so this month, I'm dedicating the month of November to our brothers. And so get ready to hear them talk. We're going to be talking to men about their lives, their families, their work, their ministry. We want to hear from them firsthand what their feelings are regarding the current state of the world. We want a platform that refutes the myths that there are not many integritous men. In 1992, there was a movie called A Few Good Men. Don't know if some of you ever watched it. It was about men standing up for what's right, even when it was hard, even when it may cost them everything. We will be talking over the next several weeks to these kinds of individuals. Tonight, we're going to have one of our sons of our ministry. He's been with us. Now he's working in different areas of ministry. And so what I want you to understand is that we need to know how to handle our men, treat them, honor, respect, and dignity. We want our men to be able to be a part of the good father. I see men that are with their children doing things, and the gentleman that's going to be on tonight, he's one of those men that really, really spend time with the kids. They're very active in sports, and that's something that we want to talk about tonight. So I hope that he's ready to get on board with us now. We're just waiting for a few minutes to get him on, and I really believe that we have to change the myth about men and believe that they are good fathers, good husbands. And sometimes things have to change. We as women too have to make changes that are necessary for the men to step up to the plate. Sometimes it's hard for us when you've been leading for a while to be able to then say, okay, I got to step back and let the man do what he's supposed to do. When you've been a single woman for a long time and you're accustomed to doing so many things on your own, it's difficult to say, okay, let go the reins and let the men lead. But we have to. If we're going to have good, wholesome relationships, we have to give the men an opportunity to lead and do the things that God has called them to do. So with DJ, he's been a part of our ministry for so long. I mean, he came to us even before he went to the NFL. I remember that even before he went to the NFL, he would come to church. He was trying to find God in such a special way, a young father, a husband. And so he was going through so many different things. And I wanted him to come on board tonight to talk to us about this journey that he's been on and what that journey is going to be like for him going forward. 3 kids, 2 kids in football, his daughter in playing sports also, and going back and forth to keeping things on target with the children. So that's what we'll be talking about tonight. And then his ministry. He shared with me a few weeks ago that ministry, it's been changed for him. He's had a different insight with God, a different time with God, a different revelation with the Lord. And so I wanted him to come on board tonight to talk to us about the things that he's been finding out about the Lord, the things that has been in his life. It's been a journey for him because in his walk with God, God began to stretch him. God began to do things for him that is important. So I'm hoping he's ready. I'm hoping that he's able to come on and really talk to us about some of the things that are going on in his life. Also, next week, we have Maurice Lechner. He's going to be with us. He was one that was in the Tyler Perry movie. He was also one that wrote some songs. He had a Christmas song that was out. And Maurice is going to be with us next week. I hope you join us for that one. And I hope you'll get to sing I really hope he'll sing a song for us when I get him on the air. Then Prophet Remington will be back about his journey to Pittsburgh. God has moved him, relocated him here to work with us. And so we're excited about that. So we're looking forward to this month of November when the men are going to talk. Men need a voice. They need to be able to talk. They're good men. They're doing the best that they can. And we want them to be a part of this program. So we're so glad. Let us welcome Dee Joseph Jenkins to the show tonight. DJ, good evening.
Good evening, Mom. How's it going this evening?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm so glad that you're with us. I was sharing with them. I really this month, we're talking with my producers, talking with my team. I didn't want the year to close out and not have a chance to talk to the men. DJ, I've been watching your Facebook page. I'm watching you going with your kids. Last week, you were supposed to be with us and you had to take the kids. Tell me what happened there. The kids were on the way to what, a football game? What was going on?
What happened? Well, to give a background, my oldest daughter, Kayla, is I spelled my own name wrong. I should say DJ Dunkins. That's crazy. Okay, Dinkins. I apologize. But at the end of the day, my daughter's she's a two-time all-conference volleyball player at the University of Tulane. Khalil, my oldest son, is a freshman tight end at the at Penn State University. I'm playing tight end there, and then our youngest, Colin, is a senior at North Allegheny High School. He was nominated for the Play of the Week last week, where he scored a 96-yard interception for a touchdown. So the University of Akron had a game on Tuesday where the coaches reached out to us and said, "Hey, can you bring Colin up for a game?" It was on Tuesday night. Yes, I have a construction course that I'm going through on Tuesday evening. So I was like, "Okay, Colin, we're going to go up there." But obviously, I was like, I have a interview to do. So I was telling the coaches this. So we tried to get them out of practice early and try to make it up there in time. So when we called, I thought it would be in Akron. We could do it, but obviously we're still en route. And, it was a little dark, so we wasn't able to get on. But the crazy thing was, doing all this, Mom, we get up there, Akron lose. What I did not know is that the coach only won 3 games the last 3 years, and so they fired him the next day. So,
my goodness, my
was
God!
off or not.
After
Right.
all of that, well, tell us a little bit about you. That's the kids. What about you? Tell me a little bit about you, and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, to all your viewers, my name is Darnell Dinkins. Born and raised right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As I was coming up through high school, I started playing sports and was known for, quarterback. Ended up coming to Jubilee International Ministries while I was attending the University of Pittsburgh, where obviously, Mom, our relationship started years ago, back in 1996, 1997. And really since then has been the backbone to my spiritual development in terms of our spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and physical. Our spiritual basis is where we really come to align with God. Our emotional basis is where we really deal with some of the things that people cannot see. Our intellect, how we think about it, and our physical, how we present it. I was able to then do well at the University of Pittsburgh. I dealt with my share of adversity. Was able to play 9 years in the NFL with the New York Giants, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, and the New Orleans Saints, where I won the Super Bowl in 2009. In the midst of those 9 years, I had 3 children. Kayla, who I told you about, who's now 21 years old, I was born in 2000, the year 2000. Then Khalil, who is 19, and then Colin, who is 17. My ex Shayla we went to high school together, and then we ended up separating after the 2010 season. So I was able to deal with going back and forth and learning how to still be a intact and an in-depth father as I was still dealing with some of the throes of separation. After that, I was able to then go in and start, a business called Ethic Training, where we trained over 7,000, plus athletes in a matter of, 5 years. So it was an amazing opportunity to get into the schools, to educate about the recruiting process, going over core class, GPAs, and test scores, all while intervening and kind of.
Somebody's in there. Somebody's trying to distract you.
I'll say that again. Yes.
Where are you at? Somebody's in the room. We're getting some feedback.
Trying to distract me, right? So, at the end of the day, I was able to then go on and, from the training side and from helping kids get into college, I was able to, I started doing stuff in the construction space. So right now I've done a joint venture with Macero Construction. And in this day and age, we have a lot of, areas where the median income in areas is $15,000 to $17,000. So I started looking at what some of the issues were. And unions have been around for a long time in the Pittsburgh area and multiple areas. But as we all know, 2021 is probably, in terms of being an African American male, I would say that we probably have it better. The pioneers, the people who planted trees before we were ever here, never got a chance to see those trees grow. And because of their hard work, because of their, tireless efforts, we get some of the liberties that we, are handed to us, better than we ever have been for in this country. So
Tell me something about that. A few months ago, I think it may be about a month ago, you did this event, Christian Business Partners. Tell me a little bit about that. I wish I could have been there, but I like the flyer. I like to see what you were doing. Tell me what that was involved and what was your teaching about?
And the teaching was going right back into what I was saying, dealing with focusing again. We've all come through COVID. We've all come through situations, and whether listeners today have been furloughed due to COVID, have lost a loved one due to COVID, have, had to learn how to start, raising their children and teaching them at home because of COVID. Or the matter of fact, they may have just found themselves in a relationship that was ending because of COVID. All these things made people deal like, what am I confident in? Because the things that the world is saying I'm confident in, my job, my career, my relationship, even my church doors closed. If I was confident in those things, what was my relationship with God? Because we tended to lose focus to that. And speaking with the Christian Business Partners was about refocusing, feeding ourselves Christ under stress, and being able to say, I know these things have come into my life. I know some situations have happened, but how can I get back on the right path? How can I find myself not being in the wilderness, but finding my focus point in the midst of this trying time?
Okay, tell me something. You said something that I liked a few weeks ago. You said to starve the distraction and get refocused. Elaborate on that for me. What do you do to starve that distraction, to keep things from getting you off track?
Once again, you got to look at the people that are speaking life into you. And there's sometimes where the closest people are our relatives, our spouses, or cousins, or our uncles and aunts. Most of the time, starving distractions and feeding your focus is getting to a focal point where I'm saying that, good people will encounter evil opposition from mediocre mindsets, which means you can't listen to the voices of what people are always trying to, plant into you. I say you got to be able to be confident enough in your relationship with God and yourself so that when people are saying what you can't do, you can listen to yourself and that small voice inside of you saying, I can keep pressing through. So I turn the television off. I'll make sure I find time to get away from the phone for at least 2 hours out of the day, right? Because I had to start realizing that either my cell phone's controlling me or I'm controlling my cell phone, but I will not become distracted by, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all these things that seem so great. They're just distractions if you allow them to be.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I have to do the same thing, is just turn the phone off, put it down, because otherwise it just never stops. Tell me something. The last 18 months have been hard on a lot of people. How did you stay on track, and how did you keep your family together in the midst of this COVID?
Prayer. I could truly say I've been on my knees. So I got some ashy knees right now. You know what I mean? Not ashy lips, but ashy knees. And I've been on my knees. Every morning I'm up at 5:30, 5 o'clock. And I go through Psalm 91, I go through Psalm 23, and really believe in the words in which I'm speaking. And when I say the word of God, and not to make it, so, overly religious, but when I speak the word of God, when I'm saying some things that's going to help affect not only my life, but the life of people around us. And we look at Mark, 23 to 25, it says, if you say to this mountain, be removed and cast to the sea, it'll happen. If you when you stand praying, believe that what you're saying will happen. You will receive those things. And when you stand praying, forgive those who have sinned against you. So I look at that passage and saying, I have enough authority with God's grace, which is sufficient enough. And I try to speak life into death situations. So what I did, I woke up early. I was praying for my family, made sure my boys woke up early. I made sure we put together a habit that turned into our daily routine that then led into a ritual of us sustaining. Colin's grades actually went up through COVID. Khalil, we did a multitude of Zoom calls that get him still recruited. We couldn't go on campus during this time, but we really,
Okay.
Penn State, Notre Dame, Pitt, Michigan State, Virginia Tech, all the schools that wanted him, we held Zooms. We did good. We got Kayla out of New Orleans. So there was a lot of things that we did as a family to make sure that, hey, our unit is going to be tight, and making sure in this season of doubt, we're not going to function in fear, which is this false evidence appearing real, but we're going to focus on our faith.
And work. I know you're divorced, but working with your ex-wife to make sure the kids were a priority was critical for you. I knew that was important
Absolutely.
to you. We spoke a couple of times during COVID, and you were so concerned that you all would be able to be a great team towards your kids. They would be the focus, is that you all
Absolutely.
would be able to work together. How is that going for you all?
Absolutely amazing. I think any man on this line, my father was a guy, many guys who I've talked to in the NFL who I've actually lost some friendships over. I don't think that a poor relationship with the person you bring that helps you bring a person to this world is a significant reason not to deal with them if you have a child. I think that in Hebrews 12:11 it says, discipline, though it's tough at its teaching, produces a harvest of righteousness and peace by those who've been trained by it. And so I said to my kids, I want you guys to see what words mean in action. Discipline is waking up in the morning, going through a routine that leads to a ritual. But reconciliation in love is patient, is kindness, is understanding, is slow to anger, is not self-seeking, is not boastful, does not keep an account of wrongs. And if I'm going to show love, it's not just showing love to people who I get along with, but how can I love those who disagree with me and still come to reconcile? And I wanted my kids to see that even though me and your mom don't always agree, we've had some hardships in the past, but we can decide to commit to reconciliation so you can see that broken relationships can be fixed.
Yeah, and then the kids are priorities. A lot of times when there is a divorce, the kids are not made a priority. They
No.
get caught in the middle. And I'm just glad to see the kids. When I call you or you call me or you all are on the road, I see you all are working together to make sure the kids have what they need to get where they need to go. And I think that is such a good priority. Tell me something. You are a single man. Talk to me about boundaries. What are some of the boundaries you have in place, DJ?
The boundaries is in your mind, and it really starts with, what are you going to live up to? Because the only person you got to really deal with is yourself. I don't live to please other people. I don't live, for women who say, well, why ain't you going out with me? Or why can't we hang over here? Or why can't we do this? There's a lot of times where I believe that there's a Proverbs 31 woman out there. And there's some times where I can go on a date. I can sit down with somebody and talk to them and learn them before I decide to go into another relationship that could be detrimental, because sometimes you don't really get a chance to see people until you see them at their worst or how they deal with adversity. So I don't get caught up in the luster of first meeting somebody. I want to see how you are when you deal with adversity, because if you're gonna be with me, I need a woman who can help see me through some tough times. As an African American male going into the world, there's some trying things that I got to go against. There's some things that I may come home and just need somebody just to say, hey, look, man, I know you need to vent, take some time, but I need somebody to understand that it's not personal, but we grow together through the trials and tribulations, not lead to far separation. And in places where I've been, Mom, I've seen when things get tough, when it's not easy going. We live in a world where women have been doing things a lot by themselves. So the second a man don't live up to the plate, got to deal with some things from society, they're closing the door on the man faster than the world. And it's hard to really trust people with who you are as a person. And what I mean by that is that if I tell you what my innermost secrets are and want to be a safe place for me to tell you those things, then don't throw it up in my face the second you mad about something or bills over here. Like, that is
Right,
what's
right.
happening.
That's
You
not
know,
good. That's not good at
yes.
all. No.
Give me that Ruth who when Naomi saying go back and you should do this, it's like, no, I'm staying here. Wherever you go, I'm going to go. I'm gonna be with you through all
Right.
these things. Let me
Right.
find out Ruth type personality. You know what I mean?
Right. And so when you decide, whenever you decide to settle down and be with someone, how do you think that would affect you and the children? Are you looking for someone that can handle the fact you have three kids that are very active? Can they handle that? Are they going to be jealous of the time you spend with your kids? Do you find when you want to date that becomes an issue when you have children that are so active?
My kids, laugh because they see. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but when you go to places and you have presence, you don't really have to try to pursue a lot of people. It kind of there's kind of a draw, and so my sons they kind of laugh at the people who kind of draw and say certain things, and my daughter say, "Hey, Dad, well, I don't think you should do this and this and this," and my daughter is exactly like that, which is kind of scary. You know what I mean? So she don't beat around the bush. She don't cut no corners. She go in super super aggressive, and I respect her for that. But when it comes down to it, just somebody who can understand and be responsible enough to be self-aware of their own actions, but more importantly, we grow together. We fill in the gaps where we need it. You don't need to. We don't. I don't need a woman who's trying to be over me. Somebody who's being underneath me. But God created a woman from our ribs so they can walk side by side with us. And I just want somebody who can be a good friend and a good person who we can just talk about life with.
Oh, that's amazing. Tell me something. Why do you think we don't get more men in the church, DJ? Why is it that? Well, I feel sheep beget sheep. When you talk about the Bible, it's so important that sheep pull sheep in. Why don't other men become aggressive about bringing other men to church?
But I think sometimes it's just because right now our world becomes so tangible, right? I need this in order to get that. I need these things in order to get this. Go to Exodus 4:1, where Moses said, when God was speaking to Moses, and he said, "What if they?" Right? That one guy has had some hardships. I mean, imagine me after all the things that's going on in my life, or me sharing and what people may have said. If I had 1 second, what if they this about me if I come back to believe, right? Or when Moses was saying, "What if I go back to Egypt? Remember when I killed somebody?" And all
Yeah.
God said, "What is that in your hand?" If I worry about what if they, then I'll never get to my blessing of what is that because I'm too concerned about the people. This is what I start distraction being your focus is key. And a lot of men don't come back into the church. They're worried about how someone will view them, what someone has said, the consistency of which we help, or maybe they're worried about the fact that they let somebody down responsibility and roles in the church. When women come to church, they come kind of dressed. So I've hit my pinnacle. I got others who can pull me up, but sometimes it's not okay being seen as less than or weak as a individual. So sometimes the true calling to God that I see that I'm in miss when I'm 6'5", 275 pounds. I tell you, when I truly started understanding God's blessing is when I learned to surrender to His calling. I was strong enough to dominate. I was smart enough to surrender to the calling. And that's what people have to do. Learn to start surrendering and taking out Proverbs 3:5, trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your understanding.
Do you see yourself pastoring later on? Do you see what do you see yourself? You have such a heart and passion for the word, and do you see yourself pastoring?
Yes, it's been something that God has been speaking to me week in and week out, day in and day out, and what it's been able for me to do is go into areas. So when I look at the apprenticeship program started, getting people into these cohorts of 20 to be able to go into a place where they could start, going from banging on the streets or selling on the streets, and now we done make $25 to $45 as a journeyman going and learning the skill set. So my pastoral work has been going into the workforce and going to different places almost like Jesus going to the synagogue, going to places where people are not really receiving the word. And if you talk to kids on the streets, I was praying for 9 men in a circle, and 2 of them had semi-automatic handguns in their pockets, like hanging out. The dude I'm holding hands with, he got a handgun hanging out of his pocket in between us. But once again, the fact that they're willing to circle it up and listen to a man speak life into him. I love flowers in the spring, Mom. I love to see fruits and vegetables in summer, and I love to see trees change color in the fall. But we really miss the significance of the dirt that the seeds get planted in. So I truly love the fact that I feel like God is trying to allow me to be in position to help water a lot of the seeds and plant them in the good soil for the next generation of young men who are missing it.
DJ, tell me something. What would you tell fathers you learned with your children? What are some of the things you learned? You've gone through a divorce, and what did you learn from it regarding someone out there who has gone through a divorce or separated, and they wanted it to be a part of their children's life? What advice would you give them?
I would say first, it's an RGS component. realistic goal setting. Set realistic goals for yourself to be the type of person you want to be. Don't think you got to get your kid a car when they turn 16 or do all these, great monetary things. Be present daily. And being present daily means putting down your phone, stop looking at these things. Don't be mad because somebody got mad at you at work, but your kid is looking to learn from you. Second thing is KYR, know your role. In your role, your kid is learning from you everything you do, from the way you eat to the way you drink to how you to how you talk to your woman, to how you talk to them, to what you do, to when you lie, when you don't lie. So be understanding that knowing your role is important. Then the last part of that, Mom, for any man, woman who is really dealing with raising children, having issues, family, forget about me, I love you. When you forget about yourself and love the person who you're around you, it allows you to pray more. It allows you to grab, a hold of somebody's hand and say, hey, I know you don't like this, but I'm just going to pray for you anyway. I'm going to send you messages every day. And I don't care if you say I ain't reading them. I'm going to keep sending them because I know you're going to read it. Right. And these are some of the things that I do with my kids, and they can't stand it. But every single day you're going to get a message from me of hope, of inspiration, of things that you don't know. A seed ain't going to say, hey, I don't want you to water me today because it's uncomfortable underneath the soil. But one thing I realized, Mom, is that seeds don't germinate in light. So I can't raise my kids, or people can't raise their kids only giving them one concept. It's until the seed get into a dark, uncomfortable place where it starts to germinate and those roots start to grow deep. Then they can grow up and not just be like any old tree, but they could be palm trees, withstanding any storm that comes up against them.
So how do you get them to stay on track? Now, I know they all are very active and very good at what they do. And I was watching over the time of COVID, you literally set up some things in your backyard, was it? And I saw them running
Right.
up the hill, pulling rope down. I actually saw, even though they couldn't go to maybe a gym, you were doing things at home. How do you keep them on track?
With them now, no, Kayla's in New Orleans, so I'm like, Lord, just cover her, right? Just
Right.
cover her. And Khalil's in Penn State, so he's learning at a fast pace. And Colin's still at home, becoming. And what I try to do, I try to let them live. At some point, you got to say, I want you to live, and I want you to experience some things, so that when you have some hardships, you know that you can always trust me. I'm your safest bet. You go somewhere, if you get drunk, if you get high, if you experience something that maybe is out of your concern, call me. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to critique you. We're not going to talk about it again, but I'm going to give you an open space to talk, because we all sometimes fall victim to the hiding. We had that Adam and Eve concept where we listen to the wrong voice and then we don't want to go hiding somewhere. But most of the time as a parent, we already know, right? We already know what it looks like. We know when someone's dealing with somebody. When you almost have that type of frequency that you pick up, you can tell when somebody's struggling and when they want to talk about it and when they don't. So I try to let them live their lives now. But right when COVID was going on, we found time to interact and meet. And then once now they're growing and kind of spreading their own wings, they're all different branches, but we all fall in line to the same root.
Tell me something. What are you doing actively in church now? What's your church life like? Tell me a little bit about what's going on in your church life.
Well, it's been interesting. Macedonia, I was at Macedonia Church leading about, youth Bible study and doing things there. Then the doors closed. So then I went on a journey and I was, ministering food to, senior citizens. I was, giving food to kids who were out of school. I was, helping with food drives. I was, donating clothes and jackets. And it was going around. So I ended up finding the church. I went through a separation during COVID, and it was super difficult. But I ended up once again, when you are at a hard, tough place, the best thing you can do is pour into other people. And it was ministry for me. I felt like I was a boat kind of lost at sea in the midst of COVID, everything that was happening. And I ended up finding that God said, you're not a boat lost at sea. I want you to look down at your feet. You're a lighthouse. Right. And this is significant because the first church I was going to men's group, and I went to a church not knowing where I was at. The church was called Lighthouse Church up in like the South Side. So I was kind of like in awe. Pastor and helped them pastor who was dealing with some very tough times, trying to keep the doors open through COVID. He got to a point where he was really, really weak. And I prayed with him. He said, D, I don't know what you did, but you kind of rejuvenated me. So God has put me in the right place at the right time. Have been going to Victory and obviously taking my rounds up to Victory, which is in Wexford, and coming over to Jubilee at times. And I really love being in the Word. So sometimes I might go to 3 churches in one day. Might go to Macedonia in the morning, go to Victory in the afternoon, and come out to Jubilee and end up going to Amplified in the evening. And being around fellow Christians is something that is just so powerful. And I try to help people through the 6 days a week where they're not in church.
So the business thing that you are doing, are you training men to build? Is that what that is about? Is that building homes? What is that about? I saw that in the information you sent me. What's that about?
What is it's twofold. The apprenticeship program will help people learn carpentry skills. I like to say we all like tables, chairs, and beds, but the God to give us a tree, right? And say make it. So Jesus was a carpenter. I think there's so many skill sets that can be had. It's not just men, you women too, any minority. I want to really strengthen the MBE participation that goes on. There's a lot of projects and construction that's coming out, and there's somewhere between 15 to 40% minority participation. So if you have any skills in the electrical, plumbing, carpentry, you got a business, you MBE certified, you got all these big contracts are sitting there waiting if you have put in the time. So I really have been led in that way. Then on the other side with the Christian business partners, there's men and women in those sectors. So other like-minded people who are Christians who then can allow you to connect with other people in the same, like-mindedness. So when you're doing business, they already understand your initiative is to serve God by helping His people.
Are you all able to help churches that need repairs or anything like that? Do they do anything like that?
Well, it's funny. Reverend Grayson's on the hill, and we actually looked at his church for some ceiling stuff that he needs done, and he has a budget that he has internally. And once again, definitely will go into churches and help them, kind of go through. I've done a joint venture with Macero Construction, which is a big construction company. We'll go through, we'll BE it, we'll value engineer it, and make sure that the things are up to par, and we'll go through and see exactly how we can help, implement some change and fix up some buildings. Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. Tell me something. Now, how do you advise your daughter different to your son? Now, she's over in like New
New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Is
Right.
she dating or anything on that side? How do you handle that?
Kayla is, she is she's like me. She kind of got that like mayor mentality. People come up to her, a lot of her girlfriends come up to her for advice. She's very strong as a female. She don't feel like she has to, join in a crowd to be accepted. She's okay with who she is as an individual. So in that case, she's strong. The difference between her and the boys is the fact that the boys, we play around a little bit more about interactions with the opposite sex, as opposed to Kayla. I'm a little more shut mouthed about it. I don't want to think about her being with a guy.
Oh my goodness,
Right.
dads.
So
There we go.
totally,
There we go, dads. But she's
totally
the
right.
oldest.
She is the oldest, but she's good friends with a kid from the football team. His name is Sorrell. He's a really good dude. They're just friends,
Right.
but they communicate a lot. And when I'm at the games down here, he'll come over and talk. And I told him, I say, no, you're dealing with my daughter. I don't care what goes on, but if you're gonna be a friend to her, then be a friend. Don't be phony, because if you are, then I will come find you. I probably shouldn't say that on the air, but that's what I told him, right? He's
So
like, okay.
now, how can you be more playful with the boys? You all are more playful, but
Right.
then you're so serious with. Why do men do that? Why are you all so serious with the girls, but the guys get away? Come on, tell me
Right.
about
See,
that.
see with my boys, I try to tell them this: learn the woman that you're with, because I know that as I've gotten older, right? I'm just learning, so I gotta be wrong. As I've gotten older, sometimes women can already be positioning you and have your whole layout and plan, so you're part of their scheme, right? And so just learn the person. Learn that the person likes you for more than just what you present physically, but they like you even if things don't go well. Because I've seen a lot of guys rely on the beauty, or like BB Belle Biv DeVoe have a lot of songs around women and their body parts, and it can be poisonous, right? But I say, get a chance to learn somebody who will support you even through some hard times, and I think women can source that a little bit better than men. And when you're young and impressionable and athletic and good looking, like my sons, are, I just want them to make the right decisions and be slow to make no decisions that can affect the rest of their life.
How would you handle if they bring someone of our opposite race?
I wouldn't
How would
care.
you?
I wouldn't
Yeah.
care. I wouldn't. It wouldn't bother me at all. I
Okay.
would care about them if the person was either detached from them and how they interacted. I look at those type of social cues to see, are you guys communicating well? Do you bicker over stuff? Are they giving you some space? Is she just following you around up underneath you, or is she okay with you having some space? Because I think a lot of times in young relationships, it's like I got to be with you 24/7 to ensure that you're with me. And sometimes the best thing you could do is learn that growth, there's power in trust and growth. I don't need to be with you all the time to still love you the way we're supposed to if we trust one another. And I think that's important. And with social media, with all these different, I've never been on a dating app, so I wouldn't even know what that's like. But in the social media world, you're getting people putting their best foot forward. And there's a lot of movies I want to see, but let's face it, a preview to a movie don't mean that the movie's going to be good. It's just a preview. You may see
Yeah.
the best parts of the movie in a preview, then you go and watch it like, and this movie sucks. And
Yeah.
that's what
So
happens
true.
sometimes
So
with
true.
social, right, with internet relationships. Like you got to learn somebody, and more importantly, I want to see who you are when things ain't going well.
How are you going to impact Pittsburgh? How do you plan to impact your community? Because I'd like to get you involved in what we're doing to DJ. I need you to help us in some things we want to do. But how do you see yourself community-wise impacting your city?
I'm finally utilizing my NFL platform. There's a lot of times where I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like it put me in a very small box. Kind of like God telling Moses, I'm the great I am. So people wouldn't think of God in their own. And then back then they were looking at the God of the sun and the God of the clouds and God of this and God of grasshoppers and every other thing else, right?
Right?
So I finally started utilizing the NFL platform and dealing with the NFL trust and going into communities and being able to inspire people through the hardships or the blessings that God has prepared me with. Not everybody can walk around and say they won a Super Bowl. Not everybody can walk around and say they've done something that most haven't done. So in terms of that, showing up daily, being consistent daily with my prayer life with God, and allowing God's guidance to guide me in places where I can never open. So whatever it is that his wills lead me to, those things will find you when you stop going and pursuing them. And like this in interview and anything moving forward, I believe that God, Mama, has been supernaturally opening doors that I couldn't do myself. So in that light in Pittsburgh is keeping, my knees, on the ground, looking up to him and being open and really kind of meditating over what things, that I feel like needs to create change in this time, and then
Yeah.
being able to do it without overthinking it.
Where are you tonight? I'm hearing a lot of background. Where are you? Are you at a sports event? I'm trying to be nosy here. I'm trying.
Well, a
Where are
good friend
you
of
at?
mine, Jay Simon, who runs he runs the Big C Men's Breakfast a lot out at Northway no Northway Church, I believe, and out in Wexford. And then he also runs Hymns and Hope, which me and him talked about having ministry outside when COVID was going on heavy. You couldn't get into the churches, so he's actually having a dinner at Capitol Grill with me and a couple Steelers. So I'm right outside of the hotel next door, so I can get good lighting, so I can make sure that I can be on
I
my
knew
mother's
you were
show
somewhere.
this
I
week.
knew it.
Right. Right. So I could get good lighting and make sure that I don't mess up another week to be able to touch base with you and all your viewers.
We're going to be at the Capitol Grill this week. It's Brittany's birthday, so
Oh,
we'll
when
be
y'all
there.
coming down, am I allowed to join in? I like their advertising.
Friday night. You can come on down on Friday. I'll text you after the show.
Okay. Okay.
I know the guys, but like Anthony's going to be there. We're all going to be hanging out with her for her birthday at Capitol Grill.
Good. Good.
Tell me something before you go. What do I need to look for from DJ for the next 5 years? What are some of the plans? What do you want to do? Where can I expect to see you within the next 5 years?
We continue to keep being a farmer and a fisherman, right? I'm gonna plant seeds, make sure that people who fall by the wayside, make sure crows don't pick them up. I'll make sure that people who are, growing up fast don't get burnt out by the sun. Make sure people who are being choked out by thorns all around them, that those eagles stop being raised by a bunch of chickens, and plant them in seeds where they can grow 30, 60, and 100-fold return. I'm gonna keep fishing for people, and ultimately the businesses are growing. Want to create job opportunities for the $5 billion worth of work that's coming through construction here, so we won't have to outsource it to outside jobs. Be able to create, diversity and inclusion within the inner cities. Going to the CT programming within the Pittsburgh Public Schools and be able to inspire kids to be able to understand about the trade so they go more into trade jobs. And more importantly, just continue to keep supporting my kids who are doing amazing, and pray that God continue to keep giving me the grace each day to pour into other people.
You forgot one part.
And loving on you, Mom. I'm sorry.
No, don't leave me out of it. I want to know where's the wife in the next. You didn't miss that
Oh,
whole. You just missed that whole part right there.
right. You know what? I say this. I still feel like as a man, I still have some maturing to do. I believe that relationships are are really easy, but I think that in our world it's becoming a little more difficult. I have no expectations of people, and I find that people have a lot of expectations. So when you don't meet people's expectations, anger, fear, rage, all the emotions that are hitting underneath come storming out. And it's something that I really got to talk to God about, because I'm not very emotional. I'm very empathetic, but I'm not very emotional. And so sometimes it gets seen as I'm a little detached. So there's still some things that God got to work out on me, but I don't live in a world of I expect this from you. You just be the best person you can be and praise God, and we walk hand in hand, but keeping him on the throne. And I have yet to see that.
But do you think it's hard for you to date because of how active you are with your children? No, DJ, because so many times when you get into a relationship, the woman wants you. They want
Right,
a lot of your time. And when I see your schedule and how active you are in the community with the kids, whoever it is that you're dating, they would want that time with you. They want to get to know you.
right.
So
I've experienced
are you willing to give them that time or not yet?
right now, my time is, serving God and pouring into my children and people. And if a woman understands that about me, then she understands me, and understanding is the first part of, patience, kindness, understanding. I think that if it's a woman who understands that, then she would say, like, I got a good man who ain't out there trying to do no mess, but he's trying to just, you know, do what a man is called to do. So when that happens, then I'll walk down that path. But until then, I'm gonna keep doing what I do.
Well, I am so glad you joined me tonight. I know we're finishing a little bit earlier than we usually finish, but I'm glad that you're joining me tonight. I'm really excited about what you're doing in the community. Is there anything you would like to share with our viewers that they would like to know about DJ? Is there anything left before we go?
Well, I tell you what, there's going to be some, adjustments to the website that we have right now. They're being worked on right now. So, you'll hear about it. Our company is T as in Tom, D as in David Construction Group. That's where they can go if they want to contact me directly. They can email me at Dinkins, D as in David, INKINS at tdconstructiongroup.net.
Okay.
Email, let me know what your plan is. We have a budget in place. We'll come out there. I have some engineers come out, go through it, and if they want to find out stuff, the Epic Way, foundation website will be up here shortly, and I'll have links and annual meetings where we will have people who can go into some of these apprenticeship cohorts, and that'll just be the Ethic Way, ETHIC Way, WAY, and that website will be up here, up rebranded shortly as well.
Okay, because I definitely would like you to come out and do some looking for us and give us some ideas. One of my sons in ministry was just telling me some things that we can do to upgrade some things, and I'd like you to come and look and tell me how we can do it and what are the avenues that we can use, because we want to take
Okay.
things to another level. Plus, next year we plan to break ground for our 300-seater. And so I need somebody who knows some truck, because I don't know any of that.
Well, I better be the one, GC in that project. So you better make sure we get to talking now.
I want you to come give me some feedback. We can do lunch and talk about it, but I need someone who knows construction, because in the fall of next year, we plan to break ground for our 300-seater on the hill.
So do you have drawings for it already?
No, we just talked to the bank and everything. We've paid off the facility. We've talked to the bank, and we're now looking to get drawings. We talked about a steel building. We're looking at different avenues of
Right.
areas which is going to be feasible, kind of monies we need and things like that. And so that's what I need someone to sit with me and kind of give me some idea on what are the different places. Do we get an architect to design it? They have some what they call steel companies that build these steel churches, and they actually already have the prints. And when you buy the package, you get the prints and everything with it. So we're looking at some different avenues, but I do need help, and I surely can use your expertise.
Well, I'll be out there with you. You know what I mean? So I'll make sure that I bring out a little engineer and the team, and we'll walk through. We'll talk about it. We'll eat lunch, and we'll look to be the ones who kind of carve it out. You can tell me about personally what that budget looks like, between me and you. Then I'll bring in other people. They ain't got to know what the budget is, but we'll make sure that they give you a good estimate on everything that you got moving forward.
Okay. Thank you so much, DJ, for being with us tonight. I know we're finishing up early this evening, but it's okay. We thank you. You shared a lot with us. We've got some good stuff. I know you've got to get to your dinner. Thank you so much for being with us. God bless you.
God.
Well, it's so good. Thank you so much tonight for being with us. Thank you for being in our men's meeting all month long. I hope you enjoyed DJ tonight. He's sharing with us the fact that he's in the community, working, building, doing a lot of things in the community, and we're just so glad. We're good to see fathers working with their children, ministering to them. I watch him take his children to their sports activities, being a support to their mom and getting them to where they need to go. Last week he was to be with us. He was on his way to one of the universities where his son plays football. His daughter's at New Orleans doing, and I know that's not just him. They have a great mother, great mom who's been such a support to them, and she's done an excellent job with her children too. And Shayla is the mom of the kids, and we so thank God for her also. But we this month are celebrating our men. Next week, we're going to have Maurice Lechner. You don't want to miss him. He was a part of TV. He was part of a production, Tyler Perry show. He writes music, he sings. And so we're going to have him next week come and share with us some of the things that God is doing in our lives. I'm so glad that he's going to be with us. And then also Prophet Remington is going to come probably in another week or so to talk about his journey to Pittsburgh. He's now here in Pittsburgh and journeying to Pittsburgh. The things that he has had to make a decision on doing. And then we're going to have Prophet Andre is going to be with us. He dealt with a heart condition over a year ago, and how God has totally healed his body and strengthened his body, back on the road. Men who have gone through things and are still walking this journey with the Lord. And that's what DJ was telling us tonight. He hasn't been perfect. No way. He's not saying he's perfect. He's not saying he's been the best husband, the best father. But God is using him to touch lives mightily. And I've watched him grow in the word. He will tell you about the word of God. He'll talk the word of God to you. And I thank God for him to see the growth in him. So thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk tonight. I know we might be just about 10 minutes early, but I don't want to keep being redundant and talking over things. But he is someone I was really glad to be here, because he is impacting the lives of his children. He is impacting the community. And we thank God for men that are doing good things. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. God bless you.